think we are live. So, good evening. This is HNN, the Holotable News Network. Is you're not even remotely close to around the clock Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes news, reviews, theory crafting, and more source. I am Celiac Sarah, one of your hosts, and I'm joined by, as usual, my co-host Pico Burrito for a surprise episode.
There was something I was supposed to do today. I don't think it was have 5 daiquiris. I think it was supposed to read the update around territory battles.
Oh, man.
Territory battles day.
Why not both?
Trying to understand these data mines, I think I probably do need both at this point. So
data mines are insane. I was just watching... first of all, I don't know how Sig does it, but I was just watching him pour in all of this data, and I was like, I'm getting lost. I don't know how you're deciphering this, but I'm getting lost, and holy.
I won't joke that I have OCD because I know it's a very serious condition, but the person of me that believes everything belongs in its place and everything has its place is losing his mind with the fact that they can't have consistent naming conventions.
Oh, man.
I would be the guy going into office on a Tuesday flipping a table, who put underscores between the name and the number instead of having the name and the number all combined?
I was looking at it and I was like, they had to have had multiple people code different sections.
Yeah.
And they had different naming. I'm like, can we have one? This is even for my own job, not to go real world, but my naming convention or my city's naming convention versus another city's, it doesn't match. I'm like, can we just have the same thing, please? So yeah.
I just it would make it easier for us if we were able to interpret your data that we're not supposed to have access to in the first place, if you would just be consistent with it. That's all that we're asking for. It's not too much.
100%. But there, oh man, okay, so obviously we have territory battles to talk about, and Riva, her kit was released. Trigon is getting an Omicron. It's delayed. There's all of this lovely news, but I feel like the meat of everything that we're going to get into is territory battles.
Yes, it's finally here after what feels like a decade of waiting.
Oh man,
they've delivered it. I would like to take a moment to I'm going to admit that I was wrong. I was on here probably about a year ago, and I put forth a very firm belief that when they released the Inquisitorius, that it was going to lead, and I kind of walked through this whole thing of how the next territory battle was going to end up on Endor.
Mm-hmm.
I could not have been any more wrong about that.
But you did say next territory battle.
Yes, I did. So the reality is, it took until the 49th week of the year for me to be wrong. So a pretty good year all around is the way that I look at it.
So you were right for 48 weeks?
Pretty much. On every other topic in life. So absolutely.
Perfect. Okay, so I think you and I have very interesting takes on territory battle compared to what we're seeing a lot in the community so far, which I'm going to preface all this by saying I don't think we need to raise our pitchforks, and nope. I'm hoping everyone can listen with I understand the frustration. I'm not going to brush that aside, but I'm hoping everyone can listen open-mindedly and get some perspective that might not already be out there. And like we kind of mentioned, the data mine is out there in terms of points per zone, and I already did some rough math on it, so we can even get into that a little bit and see that it's not as bad as it looks like so far.
Yeah, I think as with any change, especially when it's change that we don't control, it's change that we don't have full visibility into. Mm-hmm. Anxiety increases.
Yeah.
When anxiety increases, probably our best tendencies don't come out. But I keep reminding myself, because I think probably what I internalize is a little different than maybe what I put on Discord, but I keep reminding myself the current GOTB predates COVID. All right.
Yeah.
This is a pre-pandemic piece. And if we think about, I mean, that's this massive period of time that has passed since that thing was released. So this content is designed for life cycle. I mean, there's expected to be multi years behind this.
Mm-hmm.
If we beat it tomorrow, we would be more pissed than we would be kind of probably when we all can't clear a combat wave,
Right.
come Monday afternoon next week. So,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. So do we want to just like hop into territory battles, I guess? There
Yeah,
are
let's hop into territory battles and depending on how long we go, because historically this takes us a couple of hours.
right.
and we can get into Riva's kit maybe if we've got time. If not, I mean, same bat time, same bat channel next week as well. So
Right.
We'll still need something to talk about there.
Yeah. So okay, so let's talk about this territory battle. So this is starting on Monday. They confirmed that today.
Yep.
And I think the first big thing that we are seeing that I think is what is kind of off-putting to a lot of people is the requirements of relics per phase.
Yep.
How did you feel about that?
So I didn't. So it's there's a couple of ways that I look at it. And the first is you ever seen a brand new subdivision, like as they're building homes?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
There's one down the street from us. And what's crazy about it is they typically build those things in 2 phases, or like 2 or 3 phases. So like the subdivision that they're building next to us, if you go to the back of the subdivision, the street just ends and it goes into a field.
Yep.
And there's a sign that says like coming soon, and it's got this beautiful picture of everything. That's how I'm looking at this territory battle right now. There is clearly a dividing line probably between phase 3 and everything else. I'm not even paying attention to those R8 tunes that we need and R9.
Yeah.
I'm not even paying attention to it because that's to be determined. Like that's coming at a later date. I'm not surprised by Relic 5. Relic 5 is the current, it's kind of the current G12, as it was when the last territory battle came out. So
it is. I think so to be clear for people who haven't read the post or aren't familiar with it yet, the relic level only applies to combat missions and platoons, which is new, which is interesting. So it's not like if you have a 7-star lobot, you're not the hero or
yep.
whatever. So it's combat missions and platoons. Your whole roster can still be deployed. So you can still deploy your Relic 1 tunes and all that. You just can't use them in the combat mission, for example. And I'm going to go over why this isn't super awful yet. And but we can go into that later when we get into the math. But I expected Relic gates, I shouldn't even say Relic gates, but Relic requirements around like special missions. The platoon thing was what surprised me. I was like, oh, this is new. But I did the exact same thing that you did, where I looked at it and I was like, well, we're not going to go to phase 4 or 5 right away. Like we have time to get there because that's not going to be fun for the whole guild anyway. And this is going to go back to preloading zones to maximize your stars.
Yeah, agreed.
So we're going to be going back to doing a few zones a couple of times and then getting the most stars that way. So you don't need to worry about that for a while.
But, that's a great point. And I actually didn't, it just kind of dawned on me because as you and I were, and we'll talk about the math a little bit coming up, but we're talking about this in terms of 6 phases in a week right now. But if we're not crossing the zone 3 threshold, it's really 3 zones in 6 days. So we've got double days where it sits from that. And the one point I wanted to make on why I wasn't the relic requirement didn't surprise me. If we think back to Hoth, which was a long time ago, the gate there on the platoons were star counts,
right?
And they did a couple of different things. One, a 5, 6, 7 star Hoth Rebel Scout back in the Hoth days was really kind of hard to find people that had, or
Mm-hmm.
even that kind of that Lobot. Everyone likes to make the Lobot joke, but also at the same time when the Hoth one came out, I don't want to do the it could be worse, but when the Hoth came out, like, do you remember when the solo scoundrels were dropped into the game for the
Yeah.
new solo movie, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, you need we just dropped young Han, and you need him at 6 stars in this zone, where
Mm-hmm.
it was almost impossible to get through those gates because the number kept moving. So um, I expect it to be a bit of a challenge. You know, I believe CG is going to uh, address relic materials in the next
3 to 6 months. Yeah, I agree.
And I think that this it'll lighten up when that happens.
And we should also mention, like, in the data mine, they showed that we're also getting get one currency in the rewards here, and that was a big question people had, was because they didn't mention it. They only mentioned get two and get three, so people were wondering what's going to happen with get one.
Yeah,
they use that currency a lot to buy that gear 12 gear. So you'll still be able to do that since it's in the rewards. So, which is good. Okay, and then I don't think we need to necessarily go over all of the modifiers, because there are tons. Yeah. But basically, it's like Galactic challenges meets territory battles. So every zone is a different modifier, based off light side or dark side.
We did get a quick question on the platoons that I want to address from Lysissa. I believe I pronounced that the Fox. Question came up earlier: when preloading zones, can you platoon the same unit on both days? I remember doing that in Hoth, but I'm not 100% sure. I believe the answer is yes.
I think so too,
because the characters available for you platooning resets on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But you for folks that maybe never did the preloading of a zone, if you platoon half of the units on day one, they're still there on day two. That doesn't reset, so you get to kind of carry that forward, day over day over day. So
yeah, which is going to be a really good strategy for people who are preloading and say you need 2 relic Ugnaughts, let's say. I don't know. I don't remember the platoons off the top of my head, which are called operations now, by the way. So if
change has been declined or has been denied by the community, we will continue to refer to those as platoons, and CG can deal with that. So no.
Yeah, exactly. But if you see operations and you're like, what is this? It's platoons. But if you have 2 relic Ugnaughts and you only have 1 actually in your guild, then that person could platoon it both days, theoretically, if they are allowing the same thing. Okay, so we've got all of the modifiers, and this is where I think you and I were talking about this a little bit, where because the modifiers are different on each planet and each zone, well, you know what I mean. Some teams that work in one phase might not work in another.
Yeah.
Or a team, even if it's the same phase, a team might work better in the mixed zone versus the light side zone.
Yep.
So that is going to be super interesting. I think it's going to be a lot of trial and error in terms of that. I just want to skip all of these modifiers because there are just so many. And also, a bunch of these aren't going to apply to us because we're not going to get to these zones.
The piece that I thought was interesting on the modifier, that it's again, as someone who mentioned this week, someone who's writing a very lengthy piece of thing right now and understanding, I'm not going to pick on anyone for writing, but I did find it humorous that it was a lot of the modifiers are going to be reused from Conquest. Some of the planets will have different modifiers and some of them will be completely different. So ultimately what you're saying is nothing is going to be consistent all the way through.
Correct.
And when we look at the new modifiers, all of the first 2 or 3 phases, they're all new ones we've never seen before.
Right.
So on Coruscant, they're doing a whole theme on thunderous applause, that democracy doesn't die from a war, or what is it? Democracy doesn't die from a war, dies to thunderous applause. So there's some cool things around that side, but they're all new modifiers. Good luck.
Right? Yeah, there's gonna be so much trial and error the first few times. And I think that's another thing that people need to remember is it's okay if you eat it.
Yeah,
Like, that's fine. Make a note of what you used and where you used it and whether or not it worked. Don't make the same mistakes over and over, especially if you're in a guild that's alternating, right? If you are in a guild that is doing light side geo still, and then you're only
yep,
doing this new territory battle for dark side, you're only doing it once a month. If you don't,
yeah.
like, that's hard to remember, right? So making notes and all of that will be fantastic. Um, okay, and then they have a ton, or they not a ton. So they did list what's going to be in the platoons, and what's interesting to me is that it's a mix of characters and ships.
Yep.
It is the same amount that we have to platoon right now. So it's
Correct. Mm-hmm.
270 total per phase. So there's 90 in each zone. And then obviously they are at that relic level that they have to be at to be put into platoons. What is also interesting is they have capital ships.
Yeah. I saw the capital ships. That's interesting. Although I think when I looked, outside of like certain ships, like I think Scythe and the Razor Crest, the two conquest ships were the most frequently needed platoon ships. The
Yeah,
capital ships seemed a little bit smaller, and I really wonder how much of an impact that's going to be. As most phases typically have one, maybe two combat or ship missions that are
right.
needed from that side. But it is interesting that they're pulling some of them out. Again, longevity of this game mode, I would expect probably 2 to 4 more capital ships probably over the life cycle.
Right.
So it's what they're asking for. I think Thrawn was one that I saw. Probably won't be giving that up. Or won't really care to give that up in a year or so. But um, were you surprised by? I guess what surprised you about seeing Galactic Legends in there? Because I think we both were expecting to see them. But was there anything about kind of the Galactic Legends that surprised you?
No. I mean, I don't believe Jabba is listed in any of them,
He's not. Yeah,
which makes sense because I think he has a mission every phase.
he does.
So you're not going to put him in platoons because he's obviously being supposed to be used in a mission.
Yep.
So that didn't necessarily surprise me. I think we can call a safe cutoff though, in terms. So Sana is in them.
Yep.
Afra is not.
Correct.
So
But
everything.
from what I've seen from at least the first 3 phases, she's needed in every phase.
I went all the way through. I went through all the
Okay.
phases, and she's
Okay.
not in even in phase 6.
Okay.
And Riva is not either. So
Okay.
basically, all the characters that are out as of now in game are fair game to go into platoons.
Correct. And we had a little bit of back and forth on this, a number of us in Discord, around the idea that the Afra characters are in the list, and CG said they weren't going to put marquees in anymore,
Right.
and I understand that concern, but the reality is when January 1st rolls around, all of those characters will essentially be on a table and farmable at that point. So this first month's just going to be weird. Like the timing is a little bit off, and we'll see for a couple of other reasons. But I guess I was shocked to see when they asked for a Galactic Legend, they didn't ask for them a lot. At least in the first 3 phases where I looked, I think like in phase 1, Supreme Leader Kylo Ren is needed 3 times. I was expecting upwards of 10 to 15, and that they were going to really kind of try and pull some of those Galactic Legends out, which
you don't like in light side. You don't start seeing them until phase 2.
Yeah.
That's when you start seeing like Rey and Kenobi.
Which makes me wonder if the Galactic Legends just aren't going to be that great in territory battles.
Yeah, that's a thought. C's in them. Jedi Master Luke is in them, and then you've got more Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. Yeah, and then I think Lord Vader is in it starting in Phase 3.
I love that I just saw the profundity in there because, in light side territory battle, we went from, you know, platoons happened very fast to everybody got the profundity. And then it was like, hey, so who are the 4 people that are going to deploy, that are going to, platoon their Millennium Falcon?
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone wanted to use profundity. Now it's going to be like, oh, no. Like, who's going to cover my profundity for me? Like, is someone able to do that? And yeah, that's going to be a
Yeah.
fun one to kind of watch.
I mean, so what we've been doing, we haven't looked at it too much in detail yet, but our thought process right now is that you want to look at the platoons if you are going to be doing this territory battle, because if you are going to fill them or try to fill them, and let's just look at Coruscant, for example, you need a Relic 5 low gray. And let's say you don't have a Relic 5 low, or actually a better example is you need Sana Staros and you need her 4 times in Phase 1 light side at Relic 5. So if you don't have that, then you might as well ignore those platoons. There's no point filling them. You're just taking away characters from your guild that they could be used, and you're not going to get the bonus because you're not going to fill the platoon. So this is going to be really important in terms of communication to guilds, which platoons are actually being filled and which ones are being ignored.
So Sarah, I need to take off your headphones for a couple of minutes and like go away for 5 minutes so I can talk to everybody else.
Oh no!
All right. So, because as everybody knows, Sarah and I are in the same guild, and she is our territory battles officer. So, I'm going to tell people how Pico handles this, all right, and how you can be a little sneaky with this. So, there is a cap on the number of characters per phase you can platoon. All right, you can physically only provide 10 characters into the platoon list per phase. Mm-hmm. So if you go out of your way to, I don't know, Relic your low gray when no one else has, or your low bot when no one else has, or your Ugnaught when no one else has, guess what? You're going to be asked to get all of those crappy characters off of your roster to the platoon list, and you get to keep all of your awesome characters for your combat missions. And then when everyone else is like, man, how does so-and-so have, like double the amount of waves? And I'm like, because I care about the guild more than you. It's awesome because you get to do better than everyone, but more importantly, you also get to be a sanctimonious jerk to everyone by claiming that as well, which I openly do. I'm not gonna, I won't, I won't sugarcoat that fact, but it's going to be a challenge filling platoons for a while, as a lot of those needed characters only, folks with just probably a poor sense of humor and for driving some of those. The age of Ugnaught is upon us. That's really what this comes down to.
Yeah. And I mean, this is like you said earlier, this is going to be a long-term thing.
Yeah.
I think that's also something that maybe is confusing the community a little bit, because they did talk about when they first introduced it that they wanted to make this sort of, modular, and they could update it and they could change things around. And it kind of is like, well, you made it so out of reach that you wouldn't change it. Like, it doesn't make sense to change it before you can realistically have a guild come close to completing it, if not completing it. So it's kind of like this weird, I don't know, like catch-22 sort of thing.
So there was a question by Ty Deerberg in chat asking about if we thought EchoBot was going to be done or not. I don't know specifically about EchoBot, but I know that Hot Utils and SWH.GG are both actively trying to get things in place before to start a territory battle. I would imagine that EchoBot will as well, because again, they're a really well-known tool around the community. Mm-hmm. So my expectation is that they'll be ready. Again, it's December for a lot of people, and that there's family commitments and all those other pieces. So, the first month may be a little bit of a trial as we get into this, and as we kind of get to January, I think we'll probably see where some of those things land. So
yeah, and a lot of these tools were waiting for the information. Like they needed obviously the platoon information, but they wanted the zone information for points, combats, all that kind of thing. So they were waiting on that, and hopefully that means some of it will roll out shortly. But honestly, if it's not there for the first for the first round. I would suspect it would be in the pipeline for the second one, if not, like you said, January. I know Hot Utils is working on it because I was talking to one of the devs today about it. So they're hoping to get that going. And then I saw another one. Okay, do you think, Fox and King was saying, do you think it is really 4 years of new TBs? Phase 1 to 3 for this year, then phase 4 next year, phase 5 2024, each phase being a new TB in and of itself. Okay, I kind of see what you're thinking. No, I don't think that. I don't know where that came from, if somebody else said that, or if we're just gauging based off of how many phases there are. I was looking at our notes from when Lightside Geo launched, and we made huge strides in the first few months because that's when you're learning everything. You finesse your plan, and then you keep pushing forward. So it's definitely, I don't see us going forward by phases. I see us going forward based off of what's the best path for us to get a next star pickup. Which is exactly what we did in Lightside Geo, and that's exactly what we're going to do for this one. And we can talk about it. So and then otherwise, in this post from yesterday, they did talk about the rewards for the Get 3 store, and it is live now. If you have the content update did happen today, so if your guild store has refreshed since the content update, you will see the Get 3 options in there, so you can get an idea in terms of how much like the electriums cost or attenuators or whatever is for sale there for you.
Newsflash, they cost a lot.
Yes. Yes. So yeah.
Expensivo.
Yeah, they are quite expensive. I can't. Somebody saw a Gerda keypad in there. I think it was 1,200. No, that can't be right. It might have been 900.
I know something was 1,200. So that, I mean, it's I don't know what the payouts are, but man, that is insanely high. The one that I mean, part of the Get 3 store surprised me, part of it didn't. I think we all anticipated seeing Watt and Cam move to that story.
Yes.
And so I think we all expected to see that. Surprisingly, no Get 3 characters.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are saying no Get 3 characters yet, and I can somewhat see that. But the one that really surprised me was Mallcat and Sina Django rolling into that store as well. So making those shards more available out of that store, which I think is a great thing. Especially, if as we're seeing probably a little bit more success based on some of the shard math you do, and we'll get into that. But I think it's gonna be great maybe for a lot of people to get into this new territory battle faster and not having to worry about kind of those other characters they're trying to drag behind. So
yeah, so that makes me wonder. So Ty was just asking and you kind of answered it, like, do we think they will add Get 3 characters? Because they didn't, right? Like, and I'm wondering if they won't because of these conquest characters. Like, I'm more curious. Okay, so Cat's there, Maul, and Scion of Django. Does that mean, like, is Malgus going to go there?
I would see Malgus going there after. So let's say they do it's now 6 months. He's available for 6 months in Conquest, and then it's 6 months of not being available. Then it rolls into
Proving Grounds.
And when it hits Proving Grounds, then maybe it goes into the Get 3, because Sina Django just got there, correct?
Yes, I believe he was the latest. I think it was him.
Okay,
he was the latest.
So the reason why I don't think they're going to add Get 3 characters in are, again, if we compare the previous territory battles to now, they have new channels in the game for adding additional characters where they didn't back in that time. Like, I know Bodhi has done amazing work kind of tracking all of the the characters that they've released over this
Mm-hmm.
year. But something to keep in mind is that just going back to 2 years ago, just by the nature of introducing 4 conquest characters a year, we're going to see more characters in the game through that release cadence.
Mm-hmm.
So I almost feel like they're not going to put the get 3 characters in because they've got some other vehicles kind of built in already to kind of build those characters as part of it. When, if you think about conquest, or excuse me, territory battles, the Galactic Legends didn't exist. We're getting 2 Galactic Legends a year. So, not that I would be disappointed, because I would love new characters. I just don't think that they need all those levers when it comes to characters. And frankly, they need cadence to build out characters and kind of give us other tools to make this whole thing easier. So
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. And I mean, they haven't said they wouldn't. So, and this is the thing too, is I think a lot of people are worried that they will, and there's a cap on the currency and
yeah,
all of this kind of stuff. But I'm not too, like, for me, I'm not. I know people are talking about hoarding their currency, like, or having a good stash of it or whatever. I'm like, I want the materials.
yep,
I want the electriums. It's because that is what's going to help us get even further into
correct.
territory battle, which means that's what's going to help us get even more of this get 3 current. It's just a vicious cycle, right? Like,
Yep.
So, okay, so that's the store. They've kind of released the reward. They haven't released the rewards. The rewards were kind of data mined, in the sense that we know how much currency we get per star, which are named ranks, by the way. It's very confusing. And we know how many crystals we get. But we don't know what's in the reward box.
Well, I think actually right as we were jumping on, I believe they posted a data mine of what was in the reward boxes, but a number of the values were set to 0.
Like placeholders.
So yeah, so it's likely it's if you're in box 1, it's X, Y, Z. I'm really interested to see if we're going to get a higher amount of relic material than what we're currently getting. The question was there? I think someone just asked, was there get through? I thought I saw something in chat about some of the higher relic materials. It was the higher rank 7, 8, and 9 relic materials that were there as well. I know I absolutely saw Droid Brains as part of it. So a question, yeah, sorry, was there keypads? I don't know if there are keypads that were in place.
No.
But I at least Droid Brains were there, so I'll have to go back and take a look.
Yeah, but there is, like, you can buy a keypad in the store.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's in the reward. I haven't looked at that. The data mine is just nonstop today.
It's
so
too much data.
Yeah, there's tons. And then they said that they were going to do this. They adjusted the rewards for the other territory battles. So if you weren't getting max stars, you're going to get a little bit more rewards there, which will hopefully push your roster forward more and get you into this new territory battle sooner. Other than that, I just want to double check the post from today because, or I guess it was the title update post for today, right?
Yep.
Or content update. So we've got like the fancy.
The only other thing that came in the actual title update was Cassian's Omicron.
Yes, that's what
will
it was.
Turn him into a Magna Trooper.
Yes.
And they said you will do more damage than Magna Trooper is what they said. So I'll be honest with the way the release happened for territory battles and kind of the relic levels and everything else. I have zero opinion on Omicrons right now. Like it is literally just don't apply them. Wait, figure out what works and what doesn't. I still think, or I have an idea around one with when it comes to Afra, but again, we'll talk about that as well, or not talk about that, I guess. But with the Omicrons, I just don't have a sense of what's gonna make sense moving forward.
And so, and this is the thing, and I casually mentioned this today in our guild chat, and I'll probably put out like an announcement to our guild about it. And I would maybe, if you are a territory battle officer or an officer or just in a guild and you want to give suggestions, I would caution waiting on Omicrons for territory battle. We don't know what's going to work. We don't know what's going to be effective. And the other thing that I was thinking about, like, if you have, say you know that IPDs is going to be really effective for the dark side path, you got to get them to the relic level to use them. So there's no point putting the Omicron on him until you get him to the relic level that you need to use in that zone. So if that's the case, then by all means, hold on to them. If you have like I know there are people that are like, oh, I have 80 maths because they've just been waiting. I'm like, okay, well, like use one, I guess. Like I would keep a couple, but we just don't know what's going to be really necessary yet. And you don't want to use it and then realize that it's the worst option that you could have picked. But they burn a hole in my pocket. Yeah, I understand. So I would probably, like, if you have territory war ones that you want to do or Grand Arena ones, I'd probably do those. And then just keep, like, 2 banked.
The piece that I saw, though, actually, where I'm excited, because I've dumped some territory battle Omicrons just because I like to. So in Coruscant, from what I can tell, at least through phase 3, more than half of the missions require Jedi.
Yeah.
That Kyle Katarn Omicron will now just move off of that Mon Mothma team and move over to Jedi on that side as well. So that one, but again, who knows if Jedi will be any good? I mean, it would be terrible to actually put an Omicron on something and then realize, like, oh no, we're in a platoon and deploy mode for the next couple of months until we kind of figure things out. That would just be kind of a waste of resources from that side. So
right, and that actually kind of leads in. I wanted to point out the data mine and kind of like a little bit of the math. So I'm glad you brought that up. This is going to look really janky on YouTube. I'm sorry, guys, but this is my really awful, really poorly formatted spreadsheet that needs to be tweaked a little bit. But they did data mine how many points you need for stars in each zone and each phase. So what I did was I did a very, very rough, this is not finalized, but it is a very, very rough. What happens if we just preload and deploy? So what happens if every single person in the guild gets 0 waves in combat missions? So like worst case scenario, and we don't fill platoons. So my thought process for this was that we would do a preload every other day. So day 1 we preload, day 2 we do the phase, day 3 we preload again, day 4 we do that phase. So we are, for full discretion to anyone listening, we're at 469 million GP. So we are fairly high up there. We get 33 stars in light side territory battles. And they suggested that if you are getting 20 in light side territory battles, that you might want to move over. So just kind of keep that in your back pocket if you're going to like do any rough planning. And because you can deploy ships and characters to the same zone, you can factor in all of your GP without like going crazy. So just deploying, going 0 missions, we should get 23 stars minimum.
I'll take it.
So I will be completely honest. When I was first thinking about this, because I saw like the combat mission waves data mine and like you get like 100,000 points a wave and stuff like that. I'm like, oh man, like this is going to be rough. We're going to get like 12 stars and it will be rough and we're going to have to like grind our way through it. Getting 23 just off of raw deployments is comparable to us getting what we were getting in light side territory battles.
And I think that's all people really wanted was when I step into the new territory battle, am I at least holding steady from a rewards perspective that it makes sense to work? And I believe we saw that between Hoth and Geo as well.
Right.
So, and I think the other piece is there's 56 total stars.
54.
54.
Yeah.
So we're at 23. So we're essentially right at about the halfway point as well.
Right. So I think if you are in a guild that's getting 20 stars in light side or 21 stars in light side, I would highly suggest looking at the data mined math. I'm going to clean up this sheet. So if anybody wants like a sheet of the actual zone math, I'm happy to share a template of it. And I just did this manually really quick. Like I didn't use a bot. I just quickly like punched in the numbers and figured it out. And this isn't an optimized plan. Like this is just what happens if we preload and deploy.
Yep.
So I think if you are getting similar get one and get two rewards as what you are getting in light side geo, sorry, I lost my train of thought, it would be beneficial to move over because you're going to get this, the get one and get two still plus the get three.
Yep.
So just a thought process. I'm happy to share this. I do need to clean it up because I copy and pasted from multiple sources, so it's not like formatted nicely, and it's like it's triggering me. I'll be totally honest. But yeah, I just used our raw GP. I do want to do this, so that was kind of like a worst case scenario. I have every intention to do it again if we get one wave per combat mission.
Yeah.
You can factor in platoon points theoretically if you wanted to. That's what I did for light side geo. And then you can kind of have an idea of what's doable for your guild GP. And see, based off of the rewards, what star should you be aiming for that's comparable, and then can you attain it mathematically?
So the interesting piece with this will be, and I believe from the math that we kind of talked through earlier, you're still, the ceiling is phase 3 for a lot of guilds just based off of relic counts.
Yes.
What will be interesting to see is how guilds go about addressing relic counts moving forward, because I think that has to be your plan absolutely makes sense of identifying kind of where we sit and you know, how do we go chase that next star, but there also has to be a little bit of line of sight into when do we cross the 3 to 4 threshold.
Exactly.
And for a lot of guilds, that might be when do I cross the 1 to 2 threshold because of the R5 to R7 requirement or R6 requirement of that side as well. So,
and that's something that we also need to keep in mind. It looks like based off the data mine, there's going to be about 4 combats a zone. And, excuse me, if you're using light side mixed dark side, that's 12 combats total.
Yes.
And you need Relic 5 in phase 1 and then Relic 6. So there are going to be times as a guild where you might have someone who can do all of that, and you might have people who are like, I can only do 2 light side and a mixed and 3 dark side. And it's going to require a little bit of juggling and kind of, I don't want to say micromanaging, but you really are going to want to know what zones you want to focus in. And like that was one of the biggest things. So for example, in this like really quick and like rough math, the gain from in our second phase of stars that we're gaining, so on day 4 when we're doing the second phase planets, the idea would be to go down a star in Braca. So that's the light side planet. So that's the one where the gap just doesn't make sense in terms of chasing that star. So just toss it aside and focus on the other 2 planets instead. And if you can justify where you're doing that, then you're good to go.
Well, And as you're talking about kind of the teams between dark side, light side, and then that middle path, so I was trying to dig into the data mine and take a look at what the team construction was going to look like, in particular around the middle section. It looks like the way that CG is going to do it is uh, there will be combat missions with just a set relic level.
Mm-hmm.
So in phase one, mix combat mission 1 is just relic 5 is required. In combat mission 2, they specifically call out light side, dark side. And my expectation, kind of the way that I read that, is your team will need to include a light side or a dark side character, or excuse me, a light side and a dark side character on the team. So
Okay.
there will be cases that you can just bring anyone, and it could be all light or it could be all dark, but there will be scenarios where they're going to specifically call out, you must include both from both sides. What was also interesting is on the light side and the dark side, non-faction based combat missions specifically called out light side and neutral, or dark side and neutral. So Hondo is going to be able to be used everywhere. I'm still not sure Hondo's good at anything besides maybe some PvP stuff, but we'll have to figure that out. But it does look like it's like kind of like the Galactic Challenge, where you have to complete this battle with a light side and a dark side character on the team. We're going to see that in some of these missions there as well. So that's going to be interesting to see how people address that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's going to be something that has to be addressed, something that has to be managed. And I think it's important just kind of keep in the back of your mind that as you're going through this, there are going to be people who can't do that.
Yeah.
So that is that. So yeah, they did data mine the waves per mission. Everything is 2 waves. And then I think the only thing that we really are waiting to see, and I was more curious about this because I haven't seen if this was data mined. I don't even know if this is data mineable information. I want to know what phases the platoons affect.
Yes.
Because I was using phase 3 as an example. If we are stopping at phase 3, there's no sense filling platoons in them if they affect phase 4.
Yeah.
Right? And you can use that for wherever your stopping point is.
I would be... I mean, we're going to make fun of CG if it turns out that like all of the phase 3 platoons only impact phase 4. And because they missed their incremental, their fence that they put in between the first half and the back half. So like we're going to have to make fun of them if that happens, right?
Right. I mean, I think that is the goal for a lot of guilds doing this, is get to phase 3 mixed, because that's where Riva is. That's where that mission is.
Yeah.
And that's that. Even if you're staying in phase 1 for light side and dark side, a lot of people really want to get to phase 3 mixed just so that they can start getting Riva shards. So if you have done that, and you've put up this like wall between 3 and 4, or an imaginary wall, or we're creating a wall. I don't know. Maybe we're creating it, but it would be kind of funny. I'm also curious if we'll see if platoons will affect backwards, like how they do in light side Geo right now. You've got like the phase 4 ships affect phase 5 ground and.
So, I think personally, I think the number of pitchforks will be inversely proportional to the number of Riva shards people are earning.
Mm-hmm.
If it's the Watt mission in Darkside Geo, I think people will be happy.
Mm-hmm.
If it's Cam, go and get ugly is the only way that I can say it. So, especially, I think we thought Cam was going to be great. Looking at the Riva kit, I think Riva is going to be really, really good. So, yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. And that's going to be more trial and error, right? Like if it is like Cam, we got to figure out the strategy. We got to figure out the modding and all of that fun stuff.
And at least we won't see that stupid Night Sister revive mechanic until like phase 4. So I hate that thing.
Yeah, that is totally fair. Okay, what else do we want to touch on specifically for TB?
I think that's it. It's to your point. We still have some outstanding questions.
Yeah.
But we'll at least it should open up on Friday. I think.
What should?
I think we should be able to at least get into the UI on Friday for the new territory battle because
right.
you get it 3 days ahead of time. So we'll at least see something. We can, start reading maybe about some of the units. There were, again, cover your ears if you don't want to hear this, but because we're going to maybe get into some spoilers. There was some cool stuff coming out of the data mine around character portraits for Crosshair, Jocasta Nu,
Galen Urso.
Galen Urso, and there was somebody. Hera's dad, who I can't remember his name. The Twilight with. For some reason, Hera's dad has a heavy French accent, and Hera's like, "I grew up in the Midwest."
Hey, it can happen. And who? Oh, and I think Purge Trooper was in there.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I'm assuming, those are all going to be PvE characters that we're battling in TB. So that will be a lot of fun, I think. I'm curious to see how that will go.
But Jocasta Nu would be really cool Jedi to have.
Yeah. Maybe he goes to get 3.
We don't. You heard it here first, folks. All of those character portraits are going to be get 3 characters.
Yeah.
But it's not going to happen until after the first territory battle. So
yeah. Oh man. Yeah, there's just so much, and I really do think and I want to reiterate this. I understand the frustration because I understand when something new comes out, everyone wants to play it. Like, you want to play the new content, and I totally get that. It is just a matter of seeing, like, is your guild maximizing where they can? If they aren't, are there tweaks that you can make? Like, I know I've talked to multiple people who, for Lightside Geo, they weren't maximizing it. And we made some, like, little tweaks, and they picked up 3 stars. Like, that's a huge jump. And if you are maximizing it, is it beneficial to switch to the new one? Is it beneficial for you to stay where you are, bump your rosters up a little bit more, and then go to the new one in a month, 2 months, 6 months, etc.?
And the other thing, because it's on the screen right now, CG, because we know you listen to us. we know you're tuning in here. That the new graphic with the light side, the middle, and the dark side, it's fun. It's an amazing piece of art.
Yeah.
Give us to us in a wallpaper format so I can put it on my computer and minimize something in the middle of a customer call and have to explain, like, no, I'm just a Star Wars fan, so it's all right. But yeah, just give it to us. So
yeah, it looks so good. They did do well there. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just want to be like, just try it before we get to
I'm excited.
I think it's gonna be good. I'm pretty excited about it. Having looked at the math really roughly, I'm even more excited about it. And it's going to be an interesting challenge. And I think this proves, just based off what a lot of people are saying in terms of accessing the later phases, that this TB is going to be around for a while.
Yep.
So if you're not getting into it right away, it's still going to be there. You will get into it. And it's not like they're going to take Riva away or anything like that. So, do we want to talk about Riva this week?
Why not?
Why not?
Exciting new character.
I have not looked at this at all. I have not had time because it's been TB nonstop. And I'm like, I really got to read this kit, and then I don't get to read it. So I haven't read it.
So you haven't read it. Do you want to go blind and do it blind?
Yeah, okay. Oh, they changed it.
They did change it, yeah.
Okay.
I just noticed that, so,
because originally it said attacker instead of tank.
Yep.
In one of the spots, and the opposite in the other. So now it just says tank across the board.
And again, so it was think there was a lot of theories as to why that was the case, and
Mm-hmm.
in typical fashion, the most simplest explanation is probably the correct one. CG made a mistake.
Right.
That's the
That
explanation.
that's it. Uh, so okay, cool. So tank, we know that she's the territory battle reward. You do
Yep.
need Grand Inquisitor and 4 Inquisitors at Relic 7 to
Yes.
do the battle because she's in phase 3, so that's the Relic 7 requirement. And yeah, okay. I
So
know
to that
nothing.
point, in my suggestion, because I know there's a lot of people like, well, which ones do I take? We need to figure out where it is. But
Mm-hmm.
if you, especially if you're going into the Grand Inquisitor event later this month, the ones that are going to be a safe bet, Ninth Sister, because she's a tank,
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, to take her up to R7, take her up to R8, because regardless of where she fits moving forward, she's a great tank in general and does great with Lord Vader, so she'll be good at that point regardless. When you get Grand Inquisitor, take him up because he hits like a tank. Fifth Brother is a really great character. I think he'll be part of the team, but he's also on that ship, so relics matter on that side.
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of leaves us at, Seventh Sister has a ship that's really good. So it's really going to be a question of is it the Seventh Sister or the Eighth Brother that is really going to be the one that fits in that. Hold off. But if you just have relics that are burning a hole in your pocket, Grand Inquisitor, ninth and fifth are probably where I'd start with.
Yeah.
Until we kind of figure out where we're at.
Yeah, I agree. I think those are the safest, and then we'll see what's needed for
Yep.
the mission, I guess. Excuse me. Okay, so the only thing I know is that she has GAC Omicrons. I don't know anything else.
Yes.
Other than that,
Yep.
she is a leader as well, and that it sounds like you're probably going to want her to be the leader over Grand Inquisitor, which is kind of funny to me, but that is...
They were both
fine.
vying to lead the Inquisitorius, and we should probably say spoilers. It's kind of hard to talk about Riva, not say spoilers. So if you haven't watched Kenobi, why are you listening to us?
Watch Kenobi.
Yeah.
So her basic, no more hiding. Straightforward animation, it looks like.
Yep.
Deal physical damage to target enemy and inflict a stack of purge, max of 6, for the rest of the encounter, which can't be evaded. If target enemy is already inflicted with purge, inflict ability block for 2 turns and dispel all debuffs on third sister. So, pretty good.
Pretty solid. Pretty
Right.
solid. As you're going to see, it's going to look a lot better pretty soon.
Right.
So.
Okay. Okay, so her first special, Unyielding Onslaught, which has a cooldown of 3 and is a Zeta. Deal physical damage to target enemy and recover health equal to the amount of damage dealt. For each stack of purge on the enemy, this attack deals 30% more damage. So theoretically, you could do 180% more damage.
And 180% more health recovery.
Oh, okay, good point.
Do you like Datacrons? Because that's a Datacron.
That is a Datacron. If third sister is at full health after using this ability, inflict armor shred on target enemy for the rest of the battle. Ooh. That is nice.
I want to know the scenario that she's not going to be at full health with that ability, short of an ability block.
That is,
or a heal block.
That is nice.
Yes.
Man. Okay. So her second special is Reckless Sweep, cooldown of 4, which is a Zeta and an Omicron. Okay. Deal physical damage to all enemies and consume 1 stack of purge from each enemy. If all enemies had at least 1 stack of purge, inflict defense down and healing immunity on all enemies for 2 turns, which can't be dispelled, evaded, or resisted. And all Inquisitor allies gain 20% turn meter. Okay. Otherwise, inflict defense down and healing immunity on all enemies for 2. Wait, what? Okay.
Yeah, so it's, if they have purge,
you gain the turn meter.
You gain the turn meter, and it's undispellable.
Okay.
Or pardon me, unresistible.
Right.
Yeah. If they don't have purge, it's just defense down and healing immunity.
Okay.
But again, I'm I'm struggling to see, especially with just the Inquisitors in general, the situation where no one would have purge is I don't
Yeah.
does not compute.
I mean, I don't even have Grand Inquisitor. I just have the 5, and Purge goes out like crazy as
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
So, okay. And then in Grand Arena, so her Omicron, all Inquisitorious allies gain critical damage up for 2 turns and have their cooldowns reduced by 1. Ooh,
yeah.
that is nice.
That Grand Inquisitor torture is starting to happen a little bit more frequently now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Okay. Okay, so her unique, driven by revenge, is an Omicron. Final text. So third sister gains 30% max health and 30 speed. Okay. She takes reduced damage from percent health damage effects at the start of battle, and when she is defeated for the first time, she gains hatred until she is defeated. Okay, so at the start of battle, she has hatred until she is defeated, and then when she is defeated for the first time, she gains hatred again.
Correct.
Am I reading that right? Okay.
Yes.
So she will get it twice.
Correct. You're killing her 3 times.
Okay. So she has it, you kill her, she comes back with hatred, you kill her,
Yep.
she comes back.
Correct.
And no hatred, she's just there.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Holy. Okay, that is annoying.
Yeah. How many turns does it take Sign to get it? And she's just like, nah, I showed up with it.
Yeah. She's like, I've been here all day. Okay, so whenever she is revived, she gains 100% offense and defense, stacking to a max of 200%. Okay, which makes sense.
Yep.
And 25% crit chance for the rest of the encounter, stacking to 50%. Whenever Purge is dispelled during an enemy's turn, or when an enemy uses an attack that damages more than one ally, all enemies gain 1 stack of Purge, max of 6 for the rest of the encounter, and third sister taunts for 2 turns. Ooh, so you're gonna have Purge.
Yep.
And then while in Grand Arena, whenever she is revived from hatred, the cooldown of Unyielding Onslaught, which I think that's her second special.
That is the first special that gives armor shred.
Okay, so the cooldown of Unyielding Onslaught is refreshed, and she gains 100% offense until her next attack, and ignores taunt effects for 1 turn. So basically, on her next attack, she can hit whoever she wants, and she'll do 100% more offense.
Yeah. You killed me. I'm angry. I'm going to hit whoever I want to very, very hard.
Whew. Okay, that is fun. Okay, so her second unique, Impatience. This is the shared one that they have, right? That all the Inquisitors get?
Yes, I believe so.
So if all of them are Inquisitors, all the allies at the start of battle, she will gain 20% crit damage, max health and offense. She will taunt for 2 turns at the start of the encounter, and whenever an ally or enemy is defeated. Oh, so anytime somebody dies, she's just going to start taunting again. Okay. Whenever an enemy damages this character with an out-of-turn attack, that enemy gains a stack of Purge for the rest of the encounter, which can't be evaded or resisted. And whenever Purge is consumed or dispelled, she will gain 3% turn meter.
So yeah.
Okay.
It's...
So she wants to take turns, and
yes.
She's going to hit you pretty hard. Okay, so leader. Oh,
this is where it gets nutty.
Also,
this is where it gets nutty.
Here is the nice bright red text at the bottom. Edit: she is a tank, not an attacker. The image and copy has been updated to reflect that. That is fantastic. Put that at the top, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Harbored aggression. So Zeta and Omicron. So 3 Omicrons?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Inquisitorious allies gain 40% max health, 20% offense, 30 speed, and are immune to stun. At the start of the encounter and whenever an Inquisitorious ally is defeated or defeats an enemy, okay, All enemies are inflicted with 5 stacks of purge, max of 6 for the rest of the encounter, which can't be so right away you get 5 stacks of purge.
And if you have the Grand Inquisitor there,
yeah,
I believe I don't think that's on his leadership. I believe he inflicts 1 stack of purge for everyone for showing up. So they're at 6 across the board.
Yeah. Okay. Inquisitorious ally attacks always score a critical hit if able against enemies with at least 5 stacks of purge. So, okay. Whenever an enemy recovers protection or gains protection up, all enemies lose 2% defense, stacking to a max of 50% for the rest of the encounter. So, whenever you gain protection up or you recover your protection, they go, no, now I'm going to hit all of you even harder.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. And then while in Grand Arena, whenever an ally or enemy is defeated, all Inquisitorious allies gain defense penetration up for 2 turns. Because why not?
Yep.
Whenever Purge is dispelled during an enemy's turn, that character, excluding Galactic Legends, gains Death Mark for 2 turns, which can't be which can't be dispelled or resisted. Holy.
So, all right.
Okay. Wow, hang on, I need a drink of water. Go ahead.
Let's talk about Mr. Kenobi for a second.
Oh, which one? Which one?
The Jedi Kenobi, the Galactic Legend Kenobi.
Okay.
And I'll be interested to see what happens here. But I'm reading through this leader and I'm starting to pick this apart. That what does he do? He gives his team protection up all the time, and then you put Padme on it, and every time they attack out of turn, she gives them protection up, and all of a sudden, no, you're just making it just easier to hit them. Then that defense value continues to go down. Yeah. And I guess that was a Datacron piece, but when the counter was built around the Datacron and being able to take out Kenobi, and everyone just figured out, like, no, if I just stun one of those characters, the turn meter train stops. Mm-hmm. That doesn't exist any longer because you can't stun them.
Well, and I'm also thinking, like, she's gonna taunt at the start, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So you instant kill her. She comes back. She taunts again because she's revived. But then your next move with Kat is to put Sheen on Ahsoka, probably on Snips, right? Which calls her to assist, which just makes her get more purge on them.
Well, and Snips is going to assist regardless on any special ability on that team.
Yeah.
No matter what. At least in Grand Arena, this appears to be a pretty hard Kenobi counter. And this goes back to, I think we were talking about it on Old Man's Cantina, is that they've got this Kenobi cat problem and they have to build pieces into the kit to resolve it. This is another one of those little tricks that they're doing to kind of resolve that problem, is that I just put hatred on somebody at the beginning of it. Cat does her thing. They come right back up and you've eliminated the first move. You still have to deal with the rest of it from that side. But, the death mark piece is really interesting because, again, using the cat example, Kenobi is going to first move, put the damage immunity on Cat, who gets death mark for 2 turns. The damage immunity goes away in a turn. Right. And then you go whole hog, and does Cat just immediately get wiped off the map? Is part of that.
Oh.
So it's going to be real interesting to see what happens.
That is a good point. I didn't think of that.
With this team. Things like there was earlier in her kit, there was if you hit everybody, if you do damage to everyone on the first turn. Mm-hmm. And I think she gets taunt when that happens. Hi, Mr. Master, your Jedi Master Luke. Your opening move is always an AE where you hit everyone on the turn, so that's going to trigger all the things that you need to. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with her. Um, Again, I think we all got really excited about the kit when Grand Inquisitor came out and thought they were going to do some things, but at least in Grand Arena, this seems like to be a very strong Jedi counter team, at least for the short term.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it looks good. The kit looks good.
Yeah. I'm very impressed. I think this is definitely going to be a goal for people to get to
Yeah.
this quickly. I know people were hit or miss with Cam, whether or not they wanted him.
Yep.
Watt obviously is very, very versatile and useful. I think you are definitely going to want her.
The piece that I saw in here that I don't like. Um, yeah. So on Unique One, Driven by Revenge, on her, I will likely put all the Omicrons on her.
Right.
Whenever the third sister is revived from hatred, the cooldown of Unyielding Onslaught is refreshed, and she gains 100% offense until her next attack, and ignores taunt effects for one turn.
Mm-hmm.
And Pico has a 100% chance to forget that that's part of the kit. Like that.
Right.
That's the other piece that's added to that, is that that's going to happen. I'm going to forget about it, and I'm going to go just keep beating away on some taunted character.
Right. On Jedi Master Luke, for example.
Yes. And I will, maybe the guys on Fight Night will invite me back once, and they'll both like, "Why are you doing that?" And then I will be an idiot, and it just doesn't work out that way. So,
um, so what if you were to only put 2 Omicrons on her? What one would you skip? I think the leader is the obvious one that goes on there, I guess.
yep. I think if you're going to skip one, I think you skip Reckless Sweep.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Her special, you gain crit damage
Yeah.
up for 2 turns and have their cooldowns reduced.
Cooldowns reduced by 1 is it's a great in on paper it's a great idea, but the one where she gets 100% offense up and resets what looks to be maybe her ability to apply armor shred.
Mm-hmm.
I would take that probably over. I would take just the generic one term cooldown, because cooldowns don't seem to be a problem with the Inquisitors from what I can tell. I mean, I made the comment about torture. Torture always seems to be on cooldown but the rest of the team, it doesn't seem to be a problem. They have really short cooldowns as is. So
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say I've been using them primarily in Conquest, but I do use them occasionally in GAC as well, and I haven't noticed like really where I've been like, oh, I wish I could do this move right now because it's on cooldown or something. So that's a good point. Like realistically, other than Grand Inquisitor, who do you need to refresh quickly?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Her unique Omicron is very good as well. Like the bonus offense and ignoring taunt. That is, especially if you're going against, I mean, even a Jedi Master Kenobi with General Kenobi on it, or
especially if those characters are going to start getting defense down across the board, so that if she can just hit something really, really hard. The big question will be, because they talked about that she's an aggressive tank, but does she hit hard? If it's Malgus, kind of everyone thought was a very aggressive tank, but his basic hits for like 7.
Right.
So is it really helping in some of those cases as well? I think is part of what that looks like.
Right. Which is fair. Oh man, I'm so curious. And like theoretically, people will be trying this mission next week to see how it goes.
Yes.
So we can see how attainable it is and how ridiculously hard the mission may or may not be.
I am ready. I don't think I'm going to remod for it.
Right. I'm going to see how it is and see
I'm going to see how it is.
I want to see what and I think that's like the thing. This week is going to be a lot of trial for TB and seeing what the mechanics are. We have no idea like what her mission is going to be like. Is it going to be a straight battle, or is it going to be one of those 3-way fights? Like what's going on? So yeah, it's going to be good. Cool. I think that's it in terms of her kit. I don't have any other
Yeah.
major things.
I mean, we should have another major thing, but
Right.
they decided not to draw Dr. Afra this week, which
I'm
I mean,
surprised by this. I for sure thought it was coming this week.
which means if she comes next week,
Okay.
she will not be available. For those that are ready, she will not be available for a minimum phase 1 and phase 2 where she has missions.
Right. Right, unless you're holding
That,
and holding and holding.
yeah. So I was very surprised. I did see next week in the data mine. It looked like maybe they were doing character packs for her characters were going to be kind of like recycled back through.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll see. But di- disappointed that Afra wasn't there. I was really kind of looking forward to it. So
Yeah, I honestly did expect her event, like us to get a kit for her today and her event to start tomorrow. So
which means likely, and I know kind of Solo Base made this joke on Gambit this week. It's the update's going to happen after GAC lock, which means I don't have to worry about her this week. The earliest anyone's going to have to worry about Afra is going to be week 3 of Grand Arena. So
yeah,
she's going to miss the dodge meta. I mean, I know she's probably disappointed by that. So.
we all are very disappointed
yeah.
that she will miss the dodge meta. Yeah. Oh, okay. Molpoki just made a good point. If she comes next week, it will have been a year exactly within a day or two that she releases within Starkiller.
Yep.
Which is fair. I mean, I feel like she's coming before the end of the month, right? Like,
if she doesn't come next week, she's not coming until 2023.
Right.
And I would be shocked. Which, speaking of 2023,
right?
So we get a new Omicron, or we get a new Datacron set on the 28th, right?
Yeah, we do. That's right, because
which means someone from CG needs to be working to give us details of what the new Datacrons are going to look like,
and push the content update out.
Yeah.
I did not think of that. CG. Who gets the short end of the stick? Who doesn't get the Christmas holidays?
And better be asked for double time. Get that double time pay.
Ooh, I did not think of that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Do we want to look at the Treya Omicron that was supposed to come and has now been delayed a week?
We can look at it. I took one look at it yesterday and said, you know what, there's too much going on. We probably should, because it's supposed to be pretty crazy, and I think there's a lot of people that want it as quickly as possible because of what it's going to be. So
right.
So let's pull this up. So this is. It looks to be on her leadership. So, yes, this is on her leadership.
Is it on her leadership? I guess.
Yeah, because
they don't say, do they?
They don't, but it's when an ally suffers a debuff, Treya gets 10% bonus protection stacking until the end of her next turn. At the start of each Sith ally's turn, Treya dispels all debuffs on them and deals damage equal to 5% of the max health. And then why I know it's the leader is the when allied Darth Nihilus or Darth Sign are critically hit with a debuff, Treya gains 12% offense stacking for 2 turns. So that was the leadership, or the leader piece.
Okay.
So while in Grand Arena, Sith allies gain 40% critical damage, max health, and offense. That's nice. When a Sith ally suffers a debuff, they gain 10% bonus protection stacking until the end of their next turn. At the start of each Sith ally's turn, Treya dispels all debuffs on them and gains 5% critical damage, health steal, max health, and offense. stacking to a max of 100% until the end of the encounter. When an allied Darth Talon is critically hit or inflicted with a debuff, Traya gains 12% offense stacking for 2 turns. So Talon gets added into that piece of the leadership. When an allied Darth Nihilus, Darth Sion, or Darth Talon's health falls below 90% for the first time, their cooldowns are refreshed. That's stupid.
Ooh, so the Annihilate.
Yes.
I'm just seeing. Okay, so it is her unique.
Oh, this is her unique. This isn't the leadership?
No, I just saw right underneath it, Ultra commented saying on her unique, and I'm just seeing.
Oh, okay. So you can run the duo and other squads. Got it. Why did I think that was part of the unique? Okay. Or part of the leadership.
Well, this also means you could run her under another ridiculous squad.
Like, I don't know, C?
Right? And then Nihilus or whoever.
So the part that I remember my initial reaction when I read this and think that was interesting is I pictured someone at CG saying, all right, folks, we gave you this character, Darth Talon, specifically designed to fit with the trio, and you guys just ignored what we said, and you're putting her with like any other team.
Right.
All right. So we're now building another piece into an Omicron that's going to pull her back into this kit in this other direction. I don't know if it's going to be enough to make that happen, but finding yourself in a scenario where you're getting like, every other turn Darth Nihilus is just dirty touching somebody. That's fun.
Oh man, that is going to be really good.
And I did see Zareth in a Discord channel today mentioned that there was a Traya team that was very close to being able to take out Lord Vader pre this Omicron or this Datacron.
Right.
And is this going to be enough to maybe push them over the top, especially if you can get rid of the sides as quickly as possible?
Right.
This may be a winner across the board. So
yeah, this is. I mean, if this Omicron lets you take out Lord Vader again,
yeah,
or makes it like smoother to do it, or whatever the case may be, sweet. I mean, I feel bad because my Treya's not geared.
Well, so that makes me also wonder if it's a case that like this is a great Omicron and people start throwing a bunch of resources into that team to use it, and Talon has a territory war Omicron that looks okay, but I think it requires the trio to work. Do we now start to see people moving into the Traya Omicron because collectively guilds have kind of built up enough of that team to make it worthwhile? So I don't know, but I don't know, just Darth Nihilus without an 8-turn cooldown is
stupid.
That's pretty fun.
Man, that's gonna be fantastic. That's gonna be so good. That's like the one thing with Traya when I use her now, and this is my own fault because they're not geared. I haven't put a ton of gear. I think they're gear 11 or gear 12, and I'm like, survive long enough that you can annihilate. Yeah. Please work.
40% max health is going to go a long way to fixing that problem as well. So,
so this is going to be very fun. Man, there's so many Omicrons that I want, and I just don't get the mats dropping. It's just absolute garbage.
Well, hey, it's all going to work out considering we're not going to be getting more than one wave of fight in territory battles for the next 6 months, so you don't have to put any Omicrons over there.
Right, exactly. Okay, so we have talked about all of the things that we know so far for territory battles and why the sky is not falling. What's your bantha?
So, and I kind of put this, folks, deep breath. Let's not burn the territory battle down to the ground. And I think there's just, I get there's all kinds of people in the world. And I think I kind of got dinged a little bit for last week that maybe I'm a little too positive at times, which again, I find laughable. My wife would even find even funnier. But uh, let's find out it sucks before we decide it sucks.
Right.
Is kind of the way that I look at it. It's while the requirements for this seem high, they're in line with what we've seen in the other territory battles. So I would just maybe the lack of patience by the community is a little bit of the banter right now, and let's give it some time and kind of figure out where we're at. So,
which yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing that we really like to reiterate is just let it go live. Let's see what happens, and it'll be. I was even doing that in our own guild. People were like, "Oh, it's gonna be bad." I'm like, let's just chill.
Yeah,
it'll be fine. We will get through it, and I don't know. I like having something to work towards as well.
Yes.
Like,
agreed.
It was really cool to go back and look at our notes from when Geo first started, or Lightside Geo specifically first started, and be like, wow, we got 12 stars. And that is a ton of progress. And you could just see, because I tracked every single one, you could just see the progress each month happening. So it was really awesome just to see that and be like, oh man, look, here we jumped up 2 stars and here we jumped 3 and like whatever. So it's going to be kind of cool to see that happen again. So everything will be okay.
So what did you love this week though? Let's not talk about the bad.
The bad.
What did you love this week? What was good this week?
Other than the territory battle news?
But by the way, I called Las Vegas before this, and I actually wanted to put a bet on what you're going to say right there, and they would not actually take the bet that you were going to say anything besides territory battles.
It's like a suckers losers bet.
It's a suckers bet, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's territory battles this week. Like it's good. I am liking. Now the gear changes have gone live too with the content update, so that I will also throw that in as my little bit of love because I'm like, yes, I need more gear. So I will take those changes gladly, especially for this Java farm.
So 2 for me this week. One related. Loved seeing the Phoenix needing to go to R8.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly want to take them to R9, but I don't want to deal with the backlash. So the fact I get to take it one step closer with R8, I think it's pretty great. The other, it's not Star Wars related. We talked about it, folks. It's Lego Star Wars Advent Calendar month for folks that are on the video right now. I absolutely love these little tiny micro ships that they make. So this is I think this is from the second. This is the Bad Batch shuttle that they did. There's a Republic gunship as well, and it is, man, I love waking up every morning, going down and building these little tiny ships that are just the coolest in the world. And there's goodness in Star Wars from that perspective. So if you can get your hands on one, go find one. They're completely awesome and they're great.
I love the Lego Advent calendars.
Yeah,
so good. Okay, so I didn't put any Discord corner questions in because it's not really our week and I forgot to look for them. I don't think the fleet meta has changed because there's been no profundity event.
There's been no profundity, and it's all tied to profundity these days.
It is. So let's just go to Uncle Owen's moisture farm to talk about who and what we are currently farming in game, because everyone knows work comes before going to Toshi Station to pick up power converters. So, Pico.
I don't know. It's fun. I sat down this week and I started making a post-Afro plan.
Okay.
And it was kind of all these characters that I wanted to relic up for one reason or another. And then territory battles dropped and I'm like, I don't know what to do. Because everyone that I wanted to do is probably not people I need to focus on right now. So I need to dig in. I need to look at it in the game a little bit next week and dig in and start figuring out where I need to start dedicating some relic material towards to start getting some of these teams up. So
Yeah, that's gonna be the big thing, I think, for
yeah,
a majority of people is who do you relic next, or who do you give more relics to?
yeah.
Yeah,
I was going to take Crew to Relic 9 and then realized I can't do that because I don't think he's needed anywhere. So,
right.
yeah.
So might want to wait.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I am still farming for Java, but it is going real well. Leia and Lando need about 50 shards each.
Really?
Yep. They are
That's
just
pretty crazy.
they are. So I did buy their calendars.
Okay.
They're 2 week
Okay.
calendars, like full discretion. And I bought them in the weekly shop twice. Once was
Okay.
for, I think once was 50 shards and once was 25
Okay.
or 25 both times, something like that. I know I only bought them twice each.
Okay.
But I am triple refreshing them. And then obviously like the double drops that we just had helped too. But yeah, they are coming along great. So I think I mentioned this last week. What I'm doing is I'm taking everyone to gear 13 first, and then I'm going to worry
Okay.
about their relic levels
Okay.
afterwards while I farm like the signal data and stuff. But yeah, it's going well. Like I'm working on Jawa, like or is done to gear 13. Aura's gear 13, Greedo's gear 13. So it's Jawa left. Gamguard, which is gonna make me cry because of all those carbs. So many carbs.
Gear change.
Right? Yeah, I was purposely waiting to do him because I was like, the carb change will happen and I will get more when I buy them. So you can wait. And then, so Jawa left, Gamguard, Chrysanthemum, Leia, Lando. Okay. I think that's it to go to gear 13.
Will this be the fastest Galactic Legend you got compared to like the release?
I'm trying to remember how long it was after Rey was released that I got her.
Yeah.
This would probably be like a close second, I think.
Okay.
Because I got Rey, not right away, but like fairly quickly.
Yeah, because I think we had a little bit more runway also for Rey as well, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did. We had a lot more time to know that like she was coming and everything like that. This will be, I think, and like, when did I pivot? 3 weeks ago?
Oh yeah, it's been no more than 2 episodes back, so a month at the most.
Yeah, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks ago that I pivoted. This might be the fastest that I like get ready in terms of like focusing on a GL and just starting the farm and getting all of the requirements ready, which is crazy when I think about the fact that I had 3 marquees to farm.
Well, and also you're sliding the Grand Inquisitor into this as well.
Yeah,
like, you've got 2 pretty big characters kind of queued up at the same time, which is a pretty big step. So
yeah, and that's the thing. Like I'm gearing them while I hoard the gear and Relic 7 materials for Grand Inquisitor. So I'm not taking away, because I've seen a few people do this where they've like taken away from the Inquisitor stash and then they drop it and then they refill his stash and then they take it away again and refill his stash. And I'm like, nope, it's staying and I will work on everything else on top of it. So it's going to be a crazy unlock when that happens, and then shortly after Java, like, oh, that's gonna be a lot all at once. I'm tired just thinking about it.
Well, this is interesting. Drucifer just pointed out that looks like Riva is a 330 unlock as well.
Oh, so she's a 7-star unlock. I didn't know.
Yep.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That is good to know. So, I mean, theoretically, and I don't see this being the case, but it theoretically could happen if you were in a guild that had 50 Grand Inquisitor teams ready to go and you nailed the mission every single time, you could theoretically 7-star her in 3.5 months.
Yep.
Theoretically. Like, I don't see that happening, but like, call it 5 months and give yourself some leeway or something. 6 months.
I think the reality will be probably 60 shards a month for a lot of guilds starting probably about February 1st.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Which is pretty fast.
Yep.
That's just over 6 months. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again,
5 months.
330 unlock doesn't bother me because again, it's runs twice a month. So it's roughly the same time period it was going to take for you to kind of get it in the first place anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah. So it is, it's going to be interesting. I'm definitely curious to see what our mission is like. You should record yours if you're not planning on streaming it, by the way.
I would love to, but of all of the weeks in the 47 years of my life for CG to release this territory battle,
it's the worst week.
Next week is the worst week ever.
Yeah.
So
just go in and do it. I'm going to make somebody will record it.
Yeah.
Because I'm curious to
second run this month won't be a problem, but next week is. Whew.
Man. Okay. Any other thoughts before? I think that's everything though.
One thing I wanted to add, so we did kick off H&N for good this week. We're still kind of working through a couple of the kinks. We do have, again, great thanks to a couple of folks who actually did jump in to donate, but come check out the Discord channel. We're providing a little bit of detail. We are in the month of January. We're going to support the Michael J. Fox Foundation for research for, I wasn't ready to talk about this, Parkinson's disease. Excuse me. Thank you very much. But again, we're going to kind of give this a try for the next couple of months. And if you have any questions, again, reach out in Discord and we're kind of happy to talk through this. But let's get out there and see what we can do is collectively for good. So
yeah, I think it's going to be really, really exciting. So
yes,
I'm glad that you had this idea. It's a great one.
We'll see where it goes. I'm excited.
Yeah. Okay. So on that note, and also just in relation to that, if you are curious about it, it's on our Discord server, which is linked below, and linked in the podcast, like audio form. So you can just get into our Discord server and see all the fun info there. Cool. I think that's it though, until next week. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. So thanks everyone for joining for this off the cuff surprise episode. Whether it's on the stream or listening after the fact. And that ought to do it. Until next time, Chewy, we're home.